Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be my prediction for the Ennis Chukadzhian fight taking place in a few weeks. This is of course a rematch from last year, so I'm going to take you guys through how I think the fight's going to go, who I think is going to win, and how I think they're going to win. So yeah, pretty much let's just get straight into it. So first, let's get into their records. So Jaron Ennis's record currently sits at 32-0 with 29 knockouts. So of course Ennis is undefeated. He's never tasted defeat in his professional career. He also has a very high knockout percentage of 29 out of 32. However, one of the people that did manage to get away without being knocked out was actually Chukadzhian himself. As I mentioned before, this is a rematch fight. They did fight last year, and as much as Ennis completely dominated that fight, he wasn't able to knock out Chukadzhian, and the fight went the full 12 rounds. So yeah, that's something worth mentioning, of course, with this rematch. In terms of Chukadzhian's record, he's currently 24-2 with 13 knockouts. One of those two losses, of course, being the aforementioned first fight with Ennis. And we'll quickly go over how that fight went as well, just as a reminder before we jump into the prediction for the rematch. It was a very comfortable performance by Ennis. He completely dominated. He looked good. He was landing his combinations. He was out jabbing Chukadzhian. He was moving well. However, that being said, Chukadzhian did manage to go the full 12 rounds, and he did manage to have good movement. He had good head movement, and essentially he was good at avoiding Ennis's power punches. So as much as Chukadzhian did lose basically every round, he did do really well at avoiding being hit with the power shots and being hit with the combinations, and for that reason he did manage to go the full 12 rounds. Multiple judges gave it 120-108 to Ennis, so it was just a complete shutout, essentially very dominant. However, Chukadzhian did have really good movement, really good head movement, and just very good, like, he was on his bike really effectively throughout the fight, and that did frustrate Ennis, as of course Ennis likes, Ennis tends to like a toe-to-toe kind of battle, and Chukadzhian clearly knew this, and he clearly knew that he has really good movement, so he used that movement to his effect. He used good head movement, and he was able to avoid the power punches and ultimately go the full 12 rounds in a losing effort. However, we now move on to the rematch. So this is going to be for the IBF welterweight world title, currently held by Jaron Ennis, the IBF, also known as the International Boxing Federation. So it's a world title fight. It's 12 rounds, and yeah, pretty much. So in terms of my prediction, I've actually gone for Jaron Ennis to win by stoppage. So I do think that Jaron Ennis is going to win again. However, this time I think he is actually going to get the stoppage. And I know that might be a little bit bold because Chukadzhian has never been knocked out in any of his 26 fights. And of course, Jaron Ennis didn't manage to knock him out in the last fight. However, I just think that this time Ennis is going to be able to adjust to Chukadzhian's movement. I think Chukadzhian's probably going to, again, try to be effective, try to, be on his bike, move, get the head movement going, land the occasional punches, etc., and probably just try and make it the full 12 rounds. But it's not something that I expect Ennis to let him get away with again. I think it's something that Ennis is preparing for. I think, of course, we know Ennis has huge power. We know he's got great combination punches and essentially can overwhelm you if you let him. And I just think this time Ennis is going to be much better at cutting off the ring, preventing Chukadzhian from moving around where he wants to. He's going to try and corner him, put him up against the ropes, hit him with good combinations and with flurries. And essentially, I just think he's going to be able to overwhelm him and eventually stop him quite late on. So, of course, I don't think it's going to be an early stoppage. And I've actually gone for rounds 9 to 12. That's what I'm going to say. So I think it's going to be an Ennis stoppage, rounds 9 to 12. And to clarify, when I say stoppage, I mean, I think Chukadzhian's still going to be on his feet. As I said, Chukadzhian is durable. He's tough. He can take a hard punch. So for that reason, I don't think he's going to be like, I don't think it's going to be a case where he's dropped and then can't beat the 10 count and loses that way. I think rather it's going to be just an overwhelming. He's going to get hit with a lot of punches, a lot of combinations. And while he will have the durability and he will have the movement, eventually it will get too much. And I think he will be stopped between rounds 9 and 12. In terms of how I think the fight's going to go kind of throughout, so to start off with, I think it's going to be quite close, just pretty standard stuff really. Obviously they're both going to look to get the jab exchanges. They're both going to have obviously some jab exchanges, try and win those. They're going to try and get their their right hands going, and essentially I think they're just going to try and get their punches going, their combinations. So I think the first few rounds will be quite even, just kind of they'll just feel each other out a bit, throw the occasional punch, try and time each other. I think timing is going to be a big thing in this fight. They are both quite fast. They do move around quite well. They do have fast hands. So I think timing is definitely going to be a big factor in this fight. And I think definitely in those first few rounds, they're both going to look to sort of time each other's punches, figure out each other's other's rhythms. There's probably going to be a lot of feints and slips involved. Again, just in an effort from both of them to try and figure out each other's rhythm and sort of, and I think this is especially going to be important for Ennis, because if Ennis wants this stoppage, which he has made clear he does want, then he's going to have to figure out that timing from Chukadzhian and then look to exploit that, as of course, otherwise Chukadzhian will do what he did in his first fight. He'll get away, he'll land the occasional shot, and yes, he'll take a lot of punches, but ultimately he won't get knocked out if that does happen. So yeah, if Ennis does want the stoppage, he's going to have to figure out that timing and really begin to throw power punches and also a lot of counter punches. So yeah, first few rounds I think they'll be quite even. They'll both just kind of look to feel each other out, find each other's rhythms. I think they'll both land an even amount of shots, and ultimately I think the first few rounds could really go either way, just sort of the first 3 or 4 rounds, just like typical in a 12-round fight. They tend to kind of just feel each other out and try and land punches. So I think that'll be quite even, but I think from about sort of the 6th round onwards, I think it's just going to be all Ennis from there. I think by the 6th round, I think Ennis will have gotten comfortable. I think he would have figured out Chukadzhian's rhythm. I think he would have figured out how to land the punches, and I think from there on, it's just going to be quite comfortably Ennis. I think he's going to begin to press forward more. I think he's going to up the pressure, land the combination punches, switch stances as well, because that's another thing. Ennis is a fantastic switch hitter. He can hit from both orthodox and southpaw, and I think that's something that he's going to look to use against Chukadzhian, who of course isn't used to fighting too many switch hitters. So yeah, for me, Jaron Ennis is a fantastic switch hitter, and I think he's definitely going to make use of that. So yeah, for the first few rounds, sort of 4 rounds, I think it's just going to be quite even, feel each other out. The rounds could really go either way. We could see draw rounds, or we could see either one winning them, just kind of standard stuff. But I think from round 6 onwards is when Ennis is just going to completely figure Chukadzhian out, and from there basically he can just stop him quite comfortably. So that's my final prediction: Jaron Ennis to stop Chukadzhian between rounds 9 and 12. That's what I think is going to happen. Of course, we'll see if it does. As I said, it didn't the first time, but I just think that Jaron Ennis has learned from that fight. He will have learnt how to sort of how to stop the movement of Chukadzhian. I think he would have figured that out by now, and so for that reason, I do think he'll be able to stop him. So yeah, that's how I think it's going to go. Of course, Chukadzhian won't go down easily. I do think he's still going to land his punches. He'll land some combinations, etc. And he'll definitely look to make some of the rounds close, but I just think this should be comfortable for Ennis. I just see no reason why Ennis can't repeat what he did, beat him again, but this time get the stoppage. But of course, we shall wait and see. But yeah, that's my final prediction: Jaron Ennis to win by stoppage, and I'm going to go between rounds 9 and 12 later on in the fight. So I do think that Ennis will retain his IBF welterweight world title and keep his unbeaten streak going. So yeah, please let me know who you guys think is going to win the fight. I think it's going to be a really good fight personally. I think it should be entertaining. I don't think it'll be quite like, I am going to say this, I don't think it'll be as dominant as the previous fight in the sense of the rounds. Like, I do think the rounds will be a bit closer, but I still think that for the most part Ennis should be comfortable, should be able to get the stoppage, and ultimately should be able to get Chukadzhian out of there between rounds 9 and 12. So yeah, that's my final prediction: Jaron Ennis to win by stoppage and retain his IBF title and his unbeaten streak. Please let me know down below who you guys think is going to win this fight. I think this is a really exciting one, and I think this is going to be a good one in 3 weeks' time. Of course, as always, I will be making a reaction podcast to this fight once it's done with, and I'll also be making a reaction podcast to the Prograis versus Catterall fight that I predicted a few days ago. That fight is next weekend, so really, really excited for that. Should be a great fight. So if you want to know my prediction for that one, please let me know. Remember to stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Tomorrow I will be posting my tomorrow I will be posting my reaction my reaction podcast to my game week this week for FPL, and definitely stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss it, because it has been an absolute horror game week so far. Really, really poor game week, and you're definitely not going to want to miss this, because man, this has just been a rough game week for so many people, and I've definitely I've experienced that as well. It's been a rough game week, so you're not going to want to miss that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. My final prediction is Jaron Ennis winning by stoppage between rounds 9 and 12. I think it will start off close. I think Chukadzhian's going to make it close, but for the most part, Ennis will be comfortable and will win by stoppage, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Please let me know down below who you think is going to win. Thank you so much for all the support recently. As always, I really, really appreciate it. Remember to follow the TikTok and Twitter pages that can be seen on screen, and that there are links for in the description. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications for more podcasts. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in another podcast soon. Bye bye.